Ancient of Days. From every nation, all of creation, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee will bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom will not pass away, O Ancient of Days. Oh, every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee will bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom will not pass away. Oh, every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee will bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom will not pass away, O Ancient of Days. Ancient of Days. Ancient of Days. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days.
After these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. So, we look around us today. Do you see those foul spirits? Do you see the demonic? When you see people going out and just killing people and burning buildings and raping children and cursing you out. Babylon the Great. Babylon is symbolic of ancient Babylon. And the fall of Babylon, it happened back God knows how many thousands of years ago when the Tower of Babel was built. And, trying to reach unto heaven where God was. And I have a lot more to say about that because ancient history is very interesting. And it was torn down. Well, there's nothing new under the sun, Solomon said. Everything that has been will be again. The earth goes in cycles. And, you would be hard-pressed to tell the people of Iraq and some of these countries that they hadn't already seen Armageddon. The stuff we're going through now, other countries have been going through worse than this for a long time. It's just come to America now. And the first thing I'd say is everybody should be ready to meet their Maker no matter what. Because this moment is all that's promised to us. We could die 10 minutes from now, have a heart attack, be in a car accident, anything. But all we have is right now. And right now is when we need to start searching our hearts. And I'm not trying to preach at people. I don't mean it to come across that way. I want to encourage you. And whatever religion you are, I am not bashing anyone's religion. As long as it's peaceful and it's about love. And that's why I chose Jesus Christ. Because I have studied all the world's religions, and I found the teachings of Christ to be the most freedom-giving of any religion. If you want to call it a religion, to me it's a relationship. And my doctrine is very simple, and it is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And anyway, look around, and you can see all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. Those at the top are fighting for their lives because they're going to see their Babylon fall. There is no doubt whatsoever about that. I don't know the day or the date or the time. I'm kind of hoping that we're starting to come out of the New World Order. I'd like to think that, that maybe we're getting to the point where we can actually watch it fall. So, call it hope porn or whatever you want to call it. Without hope, you don't have anything. So, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people." Now, who is her? Who is that great whore of Babylon? That's what you got to figure out. I'm not going to try to tell you who it is. I think it's a conglomeration of things. Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works. In the cup which she has mix double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as a queen, and I am no widow, and will not see sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she will be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord who judges her. So, I've heard all different kinds of interpretations, and people say, well, this means this, and this means that, and on and on and on. And I've heard thousands and thousands of hours. I've sat under ministers that taught, and I've heard some things that are turning out to be true, But whatever this Babylon is, this woman that sits up on the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns, whatever that is, you need to get away from it. You need to come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, unless you receive of her plagues. Make things right with your Maker. The world mourns Babylon's fall. The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her. When they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. And the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones, and pearls. Fine linen and purple, silk and scarlet, every kind of citron, wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of most precious wood, bronze, iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, and bodies and souls of men. That says a whole lot right there. Slavery. Slavery. Human trafficking. This world is run on slavery. But that's going to cease. It's going to cease. The fruit that your soul longed for has gone from you, and the things which are rich and splendid have gone from you, and you shall find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, who became rich by her, will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like royalty, doesn't it? Like maybe kings and queens. Maybe popes. And all those that work with him. clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. Have you seen all the gold and precious stones and pearls in the Vatican, in the Queen and King ships? For in 1 hour such riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the sea stood at a distance. That could also say trains, ships, planes, all that too, in our day, and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, "What is like this great city?" Could that city be Rome? I don't know. I've heard it said that. Could it be the United States of America? Anything that this, describes. They threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and wailing and saying, "Alas, alas, that great city in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, O heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her." Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "Thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down, and shall not be found any more. The sound of harpists, musicians, flutists, and trumpeters shall not be heard in you any more." That could also say famous movie stars and entertainers and singers who worship Satan. "No craftsman of any craft shall be found in you any more, and the sound of a millstone shall not be heard in you any more. The light of a lamp shall not shine in you any more, and the voice of bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you any more. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all the nations were deceived." Sorcery. Do you know that another word for sorcery is pharmaceuticals? Magic. Yeah, pharmaceuticals is a form of sorcery. "And in her was found the blood of prophets and saints and all who were slain on the earth." And that comes from the Holy Bible, New King James Version. I'm going to put some photos with this just to make it interesting. But like I said, I'm not preaching at anybody. This is just something that touched my heart this morning, especially the part about no more slaves, no more human trafficking, no more pharmaceuticals, no more sorcery, drugs that are killing our country, no more tainted vaccines. I'm not saying all vaccines are bad. There's some things that help, but there's a lot of things that have made people a lot worse. God bless you all. Good afternoon, everyone. I know a lot of you aren't a lot into the Bible and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to preach at anyone. My father was a minister, and he taught me how to research using the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance when I was about 12 years old, because that's when I had, well, actually it was 11, when I had my conversion experience, and it was very profound for such a young child. But I became very interested in all of this. The video that I did about Revelations, I had brought up the fact that sorcery that's mentioned is actually it's a pharmaceuticals, it's drugs. I mean, it's a like magic. When a lot of people have delusions and stuff when they're on drugs. But the Strong's Concordance is called Pharmakeia. It's 5331. Pharmakeia. The use of medicine, drugs, or spells. So it's the same thing as magic. The original word, I'm not sure if this is the Greek or Hebrew. I'll figure it out in a minute. Pharmakeia, the use of medicine, drugs, or spells, magic, sorcery, or enchantment. And in the case of the MK Ultra program, mind control program, where they've become very sophisticated with that program these days. I mean, they use harmonics and stuff like that at NASA. But when it started out in Nazi Germany, I mean, they used sexual abuse and torture to split off the mind to create other, what they used to call multiple personality disorder. They would actually create new people within themselves. Today it's called dissociative identity disorder, because really there's only one person, the core person, who has compartmentalized certain abuse and stuff into like folders in their brain. It's a very wonderful thing that it's able to be that way, because that's the way these people continue to live. They they can go to school, they can go to church, they can do all kinds of things and not even remember certain things that happened to them. Please forgive my voice. Forgive my voice. There's been a big dust storm that's come out of Africa into the United States and Texas, and I have an allergy to dust. Yeah, dust and mold, pretty bad for me. So even though you can't see it, evidently it's affecting my allergies. So I'm sorry that it's so growly. I really talk that much except when I'm on here. Anyway, this Pharmakeia is used in magic, and they use a lot of, satanic ritual abuse. That's what they do. They use a type of magic, and they usually use some kind of hallucinatory drugs on these children when they do it. So in that form, they are, it's magic, sorcery, enchantment. I mean, people have jumped out of the windows on LSD because they thought they could fly. So anyway, Pharmakeia from Pharmakeia, to administer drugs properly, drug-related sorcery, like the practice of magical arts. So this is the NAS exhaustive concordance. Word origin from Pharmakeia, to administer drugs, the use of medicine, drugs, or spells. Sorceries, sorcery. So I just wanted to show you I wasn't just making something up. You know me, I like to show evidence. It's also called poisoning. And a lot of the drugs that are prescribed by doctors are some of the most poisonous things on the universe. And I have my own personal story, and I have documented it. I got all of my medical records, and I went through it bit by bit and documented the dates and everything of when I started taking pharmaceutical drugs. And some things, like I use an estrogen patch, but estrogen is something natural to the body. I take, because of all these drugs and because of the abuse that I went through in the cult I was in and from my ex, it really affected my immune system. In fact, my whole immune system was compromised. And I had to, have a hysterectomy at a young age. I was 41. And so therefore I had to use the estrogen patch. Otherwise I was about to burn up, just to be honest. So that is something that's natural to the body. And I also have a condition where my parathyroid glands barely work. So I have to take large amounts of vitamin D, which is another natural substance. But because my parathyroid glands do not work, and it's the parathyroid glands that help you absorb calcium, I was not absorbing any calcium. I could take 10,000 units of calcium, but I didn't absorb it. So they started me out on 100,000 units of vitamin D prescription. And I got vitamin D poisoning. I almost died. I went into renal failure. My blood pressure was so high, I thought my head was going to explode. And I wanted to die. And I had been sick for weeks, and nobody traced it to that, to my parathyroid gland. So I went into my endocrinologist's office, and I just laid my head on her desk, and I said, I don't want to live anymore. I'm so sick. Doctors were giving me antibiotics and stuff like that. And she took my blood pressure, and it was like 300 over another ridiculously high number. And she admitted me to the hospital immediately because my kidneys had shut down. And I had to be on like lithium for like 9 days. It took them 9 days to get my blood pressure down. And they had to, I wasn't on dialysis or anything, but they had to, cut a hole in my stomach and put a catheter in so I could, And so I'd never had to take blood pressure medicine in my life. My blood pressure's always been low. but because of the too much, vitamin D, I became poisoned by it. And so he finally got me leveled out at 25,000 units a day, and that's what I take and will have to take the rest of my life. So I was poisoned by a prescription vitamin D. And so I had to have the hysterectomy, and so my estrogen levels, of course, were completely shut off. And so I started using the patch, and I still use the patch, and I'm going to keep using it because estrogen is a natural. It protects your brain, it protects your heart. All those trials that they did back in the 80s and 90s on estrogen were completely skewed and flawed, and they started taking women off of their estrogen. But the fact is that when they did these trials, they used women that were already 10 years past menopause. And that far out, the brain forgets how to use the estrogen, so it was causing breast cancer and uterine cancer. But I've been taking mine since 1992, so I will continue to use it because it keeps your brain sharp, it keeps your heart good. And anyway, my cholesterol was just a little bit high. So they put me on cholesterol medicine back in probably 93. I was on it for 9 years, and it almost destroyed my body, my joints. At age 50, I had to have a total hip replacement. And I immediately started having trouble with the joints in my fingers and all over my body. Cholesterol, statin drugs, that's one of the worst poisons. I call it the little pink pill from hell, because I went through hell for years. I've had my right hip, both my knees, and my right shoulder all replaced already. And statin drugs can cause rheumatoid arthritis. My doctor that did my last knee surgery here where we are in Texas told me that. He said he had taken many people off of statin drugs because they can cause rheumatoid arthritis. I heard on mainstream news, a big doctor, I wish I could remember her name, but she said it on the evening news. She said nobody should be taking this stuff. It is poison to the body. But if you left it up to the pharmaceutical companies, every man, woman, and child, yes, they are putting children on it to prevent it, would be on this poison. The pharmaceutical industry is not your friend, just so you know. Sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. That would be, Satanists. Sorcery, witchcraft, from pharmakeia, medication, pharmacy, extension, magic, literally or figuratively, sorcery, witchcraft. Okay, I guess that is the Hebrew, because here's the Greek. They're all sorcery, witchcraft, pharmakeia. That's why they call it pharmaceuticals. We're deceived. Revelations 18:23, we're deceived by your sorcery. By thy sorceries, by the sorcery you were all misled. Thought I would put this on here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I might read parts of it. But I'm going to put the whole article in here so that if anybody, is real interested, they can pause and read or whatever. But I don't know if this is a man or a woman or whoever, but to any connection, a question I was asked. I've heard that the sorcerers described in the book of Revelation are actually medical practitioners, and that we are sinning when we go to see our doctors. Any truth to this claim? And then he's got other articles on here. So my answer, he says, and he really goes into the Greek and Hebrew. This is mostly Greek here. So he shows that actually this isn't really referring to doctors, or that we shouldn't go to doctors. I mean, people, they can make the Bible mean anything they want to. The main source for the word sorcery or pharmakeia is speaking to in the magic form. So any kind of illegal drug, like methamphetamines, it makes people feel like they're God. That's what I've been told. I've never used any. I took diet pills one time many years ago, and I felt like I was going to climb the walls because I'm just not a drug type person. I'm not depressive or anything like that. I'm very motivated and very upbeat most of the time. I get down sometimes, get burdened, but for the most part, I'm not a depressed type person. So that's what he's saying here is people take things out of context and say you should never go to the doctor. And no, that's not true. I mean, even Jesus talked about, oh, there goes my puppies, every little sound. Say it's wrong to go to the doctor, and people won't take their kids to the doctor, and they end up dying when they could have got help. There's a lot of good doctors out there. And I use the phrase, doctors can heal you and they can kill you. So you do have to watch out for your own health. And anything that's prescribed to you, you should research it, look at every side effect. And most cases, and this is really bad, the side effects are much worse than what you got. So, but there are some good things. Most of the stuff that was talked about in the Bible were natural, more natural means, like wine and oil and salves and stuff that they mixed up from herbs and stuff like that. But so we do have some good stuff. But it says, is this calling modern medical practitioners sorcerers? Is this saying that you and I should never visit a doctor? And then he goes on and he tells the root meaning of this group of Greek words is druggist or poisoner or giver of potions. These particular sorcerers were persons able to prepare and dispense potions. But why did they dispense potions? Was it in order to give relief from illness? Not usually. It was in order to stimulate hallucinations or visions. It's a pagan religious practice to administer potions or drugs, which would encourage hallucinations. There is, of course, a direct parallel here to modern illicit drug taking. But these original pharmacists were involved in the black arts and demonology. And the basic idea was that taking certain potions could bring one in contact with the spirit world, and that was desired. So doctors don't give people drugs to get them in contact with the spirit world. Of course not. And then he goes into the different people through the Bible that did this. And again, most of the stuff that they talk about was natural remedies, as close to nature as possible. Jesus himself shows acceptance of this principle when he said, they that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. So, yeah, that's just, that's religious extremism. The prayers of the faith shall save the sick. That is, those prayers will save those sick people from whom God decides to heal. Many of us have learned that is not a blanket promise, and if such very sick, righteous people die, they are instantly healed at the point of death in any case, when their souls depart to be with the Lord. So, healeth all thy diseases. That is, it is God alone who heals. When we're healed, we are only ever healed through the grace of God. Doctors may do their bit, but God alone grants healing. So, yeah, I've had my experience with that where we were told, you didn't want to tell anybody at the church I was in you were sick, or they'd be, well, what'd you do wrong? You're sick because you sinned. Stupid stuff like that. Sometimes you're sick because you eat the wrong foods. You drink the wrong beverages. And sometimes you're sick because you take the wrong pharmaceuticals. I think the word sorceries used there in Revelation is this kind of stuff. It's hallucinatory drugs, methamphetamines, and anything that's not natural. I am not saying that the edifice of modern medical science is without fault. I just want believers not to be hypocritical nor naive in their biblical interpretation. Much within modern medicine is sometimes scandalous, especially its control by the wealthy pharmaceutical industry. Sometimes highly worthy forms of alternative treatment for cancer, for instance, have been discredited without mercy, even though there has been real evidence of their efficacy. Why? Because the drug industry wants the cancer sufferer to not only use their treatments and products, even though the two of these which they most rely upon involve putting poisons into the body in the hope that the poisons might kill the cancer. Again, I'm not even saying that this is wrong in every single case, but every Christian must make his or her own decision in this very difficult area. While the English word pharmacy is indeed derived from a group of Greek words used to describe these pagans who used potions to encourage hallucinations, who wanted to contact the spirit world, to suggest that modern medical pharmacists are in any way associated with the black arts is as ludicrous as to suggest that when my friend took penicillin for a very serious infection, he was really more interested in contacting spirits. The modern medical profession is not by any means without its faults. There are certain things which I would certainly question, but it's ridiculous to blacken them, no pun intended, because they borrowed a word that it had sinister connotations to the original Greek. So, you know, I've had my own bouts with pharmaceutical drugs. And in fact, statin drugs, I took Zocor for 9 years, which almost destroyed my body. I call it the little pink pill from hell, because I suffered untold agony from the pain in my joints and my muscles from taking that pill. And I've proven this. I mean, this is 100% proven. It can cause rheumatoid arthritis. So I hope this was of some help to you. Well, I'm going to just insert something here. This is 2022. I made this video in, well, probably 2 years ago. Probably about in March 2 years ago when we were still in Texas. And it was just as they were coming out with the snake bite. And I just ran across them on my phone tonight, these snips, and thought I'd put them together because lots happened. A lot of water's gone under the bridge in the last couple of years. And I just want to say that since I did this video and what it was just talking about, I've seen something that I never thought I would see before. And that is doctors dispensing poison to millions of people. And it is actually listed as a poison on the Western Australian government website. It calls is under a witchcraft spell. Mind control is witchcraft. It is sorcery. And that's what these leaders, this small percentage of people in the world, are controlling the whole world through sorcery. And they are using a VACCINE to do it. So people are in a daze. They are hallucinating, and they don't even know it. They're living in illusion, and many of them worship it. It's their life. And these doctors that are giving it, there's some good doctors that don't realize what it is, but a huge percentage of the doctors in hospitals now are getting huge, and I mean millions and billions of dollars. It is sorcery.